Do you believe in God?
What? Why are you asking me this right now?
Do you?
I don't know.
That's what everyone says. I don't know.
Well, do you believe in God? I've told you before, religion has always been more of a cultural thing for my family than anything,
Like spiritual?
Yeah, I guess, but I don't think those two things are mutually exclusive.
What two things?
Like spirituality and then the cultural side of things.
Okay, well exactly. Like how do you live life with one but not with the other?
Like, what do you mean?
It's like when I'm playing basketball and if I'm hitting clutch shots at the end of the game, I get this like rush in my chest that feels spiritual. And it doesn't feel very different than like, at least when I was a kid, I would get the same feeling when the Lakers like won the championship, because of this idea of like thousands of people outside of me having that same happiness and celebrating the same thing. So for me, the like individual spirituality and the collective cultural connections, they're the same thing. And I think the presence of God, the idea of God, the feeling of God, it's the same in both of them.
Sure, I mean, I don't disagree with you entirely. I do think that there's a big connection between, culture and like society and spirituality and religion. I think that those things are related. Absolutely. But I do think that there's a difference between the feeling that you're describing when you're talking about basketball and, the association with institutionalized religion.
But why? Like what's the difference between like feeling the presence of God when you're praying at church on a Sunday versus experiencing that feeling of God when you hit a game winner on Thursday night at the gym? I don't see the difference.
I guess I just think that there's a clear difference between something that you feel, passionate about, the feeling associated with that, and then something like an institution of religion. So for me, for example, like making music, that's a creative pursuit. That's a creative pursuit in which I feel some kind of, spiritual feeling, that there's something that's happening when I play music, and or especially when I'm playing music with other people, that, is outside of just me. It's religious, it's spiritual. But I think that there's something, free about it. There's a freedom that I associated with that creative pursuit that I think is actually not just absent from, but antithetical to, the idea of an institution, an institutionalized religion, like Christianity.
But you agree that like making music is still very spiritual, still a like religious act in a lot of ways.
Yeah, absolutely.
But then it feels like you're totally separating this idea of like institutionalized religion with, the actual spiritual belief in God. It feels like you're separating them.
No, not really. I just think that there's a difference. There's just a difference between passion for something creative like music and this idea of a relationship with God, this word God that you keep using.
But then what other terminology other than the word God? What else can you use to describe like being touched in a divine way?
I don't know. The idea of God to me is, like a character in a book or a movie or something like that. It's a big guy with a beard and a robe or whatever. And I feel like, playing music, feeling spiritual in creative pursuit is totally separate. It has nothing to do with that guy.
I just don't know why you can't just forget the image that was like ingrained in you.
What do you mean?
Just let go of that character and trust. Just let go of the character of God that you have pictured and trust in your own feelings and your own spirituality. And then once you do that, what do you see from there?
I guess I'm not sure what you're trying to get me to admit to or believe in. I think that I'm totally in on the fact that I'm a spiritual person. I feel, wonder and awe at the world around me, and I feel like there is some kind of larger than life ordering principle that is beyond what I or anybody else could conceive of or logically understand. But what I'm sort of pushing back on is that I don't want to call that thing God, because I think that the concept of God, as I was saying, is wrapped up in all this institutional stuff that, you know, Christianity or scripture or whatever teaches you about what that God is, that I personally do not relate to or subscribe to.
So we can at least agree that spirituality extends beyond traditional aspects of religion and God, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Does that mean that faith or religious faith, or what people consider to be like faith in God, does that faith also transcend the idea of religion? Like, can you have faith in your friends, or faith in certain events, faith in science? Is that all the same kind of faith as well?
I'm not sure. I think that might be a totally different conversation.
Okay, so let's talk about it. All right, fine. Do you want to start an OnlyFans? All right, can we do it one more time?